One of the biggest twists in Bleach history is here in my review of Bleach, Chapter 540. Everything I know is a lie. Everything. Everything we thought we knew, everything we understood about Ichigo's powers has all been a big ruse. This was a chapter that was spread a little bit thin, and it wasn't a perfect chapter, but it was all dominated by this one small twist that came at the end. Apparently, this entire time since the beginning of the series that Ichigo has obtained his really weird, badass Zangetsu sword, that apparently the entire time that was not his actual Shinigami powers at use. The entire time, apparently, he has been using Quincy abilities, and what's interesting enough is we get to learn the truth about Zangetsu, and a lot of people have made this comparison that Zangetsu looks a lot like Juhabok, or Ewok, or however the hell you want to pronounce it. But the point is, in this chapter, we actually find out that Zangetsu himself is actually the form of Juhabok from 1,000 years ago. So, everything you thought you knew, throw it out the window, because they can do whatever they want now. Now, this isn't a bad thing. There's another cool explanation behind this, and what I do like about this is there's another twist. Apparently, the entire time, the hollow Ichigo that was inside of him the entire time was apparently his real Zanpakuto. It was Ichigo's real powers, which were apparently the hollow's forms, which were mixed in with his Shinigami power. And what is interesting about this is apparently his Quincy powers are all like black and awesome looking, and apparently his Shinigami powers are all going to be like white and pure looking, maybe. I'm guessing that's what they're probably going to go for here. What is interesting is that Namaya begins to finally forge his brand new sword during the explanation of all of this. And we do get an introduction of a few new characters. We saw that there was this one crazy girl earlier who was helping out Namaya, but now we get to see she's joined by 4 others who are all very, very interesting in their design and how they look. And apparently they're just there to help him forge the sword. Everything from stoke the fire to literally this one who uses her hair to catch the sword and hold it in place while Namaya hammers this. And the hammer he's using happens to have this one girl's tooth in it, which I'm sure there's some sort of Japanese symbolism here that I don't quite get. I just know that it's really crazy and insane. And, you know, I don't even think we get to learn many of the names. I think one of them was named Toki, which I thought was funny because it immediately reminded me of Toki from Metalocalypse. But still, this whole chapter is going to go on this whole twist at the end when we finally get to figure out that Zangetsu is actually an older version of Juhabok. And it makes a lot of sense. They look a ton alike, and a lot of people have theorized that, you know, maybe there is some sort of connection there. But this is going to change things. When you go back and you read Bleach again, or you watch the anime again, things are going to be different now that you know this information. There might be some other twists in there. And there's a lot of things they're going to have to explain here. They basically just opened up a whole new can of worms for Bleach. Basically, if this thing is like a form of Juhabok, why has it been helping Ichigo so often? Why has it been so anxious to help him during the Soul Society arc? I mean, there's a lot of questions that I could ask about that. I'm sure they're going to have some sort of crazy explanation. I just know is you can't really believe anything at this point anymore because it blows my mind that this happened this way. I'm still kind of confused as to how it worked this way, especially with the fact that Rukia is the one who gave him the power to create the weapon in the first place, and it's just, I don't know how his Quincy powers were activated first. It's kind of strange, and like I said, they're going to have to explain a lot. I wish they'd have had a chance to explain more in this one. It seems like they wanted to focus a little bit more on these goofy girls, and unfortunately, that is kind of what brings this chapter down a little bit, and it sucks because you're not even going to care about them the minute you hear about that twist at the end of this week's chapter. In all fairness, though, the character artwork and everything was still pretty good, and it was also really fun to see Namaya get into a more serious sense of mode. He even gets to take off his sunglasses, and you get to see that he's not just a goofball. He's really, really important. And there's a lot of twists this week that will change your perception of the actual series, and I think that's what makes this week's chapter at least a good chapter. So new characters aside, the fact that Zangetsu this whole time has just been a lie is really, really interesting, because I don't know if Kubo is pulling some sort of George Lucas here, like he's planned this from the beginning, or if he's just sort of doing this right now out of nowhere. All I know is it does connect nicely, and I don't know if he's always had the plan for Zangetsu to always look like that. So, there it is. This week's chapter, like I said, those girls, man, they dragged it down a little too much, and it was really only that twist at the end that really got me interested in this week's chapter. So, because of that, I'm only going to give this week's chapter a 7 out of 10. On the whole, though, like when connected with everything, it'll probably be better, especially when we learn a little bit more information. But this week's chapter is just a 7, although it is really, really cool to learn that, and a lot of people have been theorizing about that as well. So before I go, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this week's chapter because it was a pretty good one. It had some pretty interesting stuff, and I'd love to hear your theories about what's going to be happening now and maybe some stuff that was happening in the past that we never even thought about before, because this is just going to open up a lot of discussion about the series. So there it is. You guys know the drill. Before you leave, make sure and hit the like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. That'll conclude this review today. We'll see you next time, guys. SuperKamiGuru9000 out. What's up, guys? We've been checking out a lot of really awesome anime lately, and one of the series that we've just started to review is Attack on Titan. I just got done reviewing episode 9. You should check it out right up top right over here. It's a really, really awesome series. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, I highly recommend it. It's one of the best anime I have ever seen, period.